Hello world, I'm back finally with another reaction. It's been a very long time, but some musical artist has inspired me to come back and do more of these deep musical analyses, and that artist is the Bass Gang, comprised of Tomi P, Bobby Bass, Peter Barber, and Marwan Ayman, four incredible singers on YouTube who have once again come together in a collaboration to produce four beautiful songs, all of which I'm going to sit down and unpack in a deep music theory kind of way. And I'm so excited. All four of these covers are amazing. Could not have turned out better. Let's go. We're starting with Tomi's arrangement of Mad World featuring Elliot Michael Robinson, a very distinguished bass singer. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we go. Before we get to the melody, we have a low note, a low chest note from each member of the bass gang, starting with Peter on this D2, Marwan C2, Tomi B flat 1, and Bobby resolving down to the A1. All really good tone all around. Tomi is very breathy. It sounds pretty low for him. And Bobby, nice grit, nice strength on that A1. Very beautiful from all of you. And then we kind of resolve, it's like a false resolution where we build that D minor chord up here and each of them takes a falsetto note going down. And it's like, it's a cluster chord because we're adding them on top of each other, and then they all resolve down to that D. So beautiful use of dissonance and resolution.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere.
And of course there's the C2 down to a G1 chest fret from Peter. What I really enjoy about Tomi's arrangements is there's always forward motion. So when Elliot starts this melody, let's find that.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces.
All we hear at first is that drone on the high Ds, and then it cuts out once we get to that line, and it comes back in with more towards their octaves. There are a fourth or fifth octave up there, and then it comes back down and more into their register to create that kind of resolution we were lacking from the beginning. Yeah, so it kind of completes the resolution, but there's always this forward motion going in the background of Tomi's arrangements. So while Elliot carries this melody all the way through, listen for all of the harmonies that build and shift. It's also beautiful.
Bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression.
So here, Peter only did the last half of that bass line, but see, we're establishing it more as we build the piece. So when Marwan comes in with that, he starts on a D2.
Going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses.
F. Yeah, F, and then down to the C and G that Peter did. So this is another example of establishing, building as we go. And I think like this momentum that Tomi always expertly creates with these arrangements is gorgeous. So, hats off.
Expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow.
And I hate to pause so much, but it's really just that good. This is one of my favorite a cappella covers I've ever heard. The way we open up to this when we get to this line is another way of opening up, because we were on these oohs and these low hums, but now that we get to this line, as we're building towards the end of the melody, we switch to these oscillos to get more openness and more forward sound.
Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow.
What I find interesting about that is that's a C2 from Elliot, which is very low in chest voice for the average male. It doesn't sound low for him because his chest voice is just that absurdly low, and we get a lot more of that from him going lower in the chest range later in the piece. So let's get there.
I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to tell. When people run in circles, it's a very
Alright, so I think all four of them that take the lines after this have very beautiful tone. I especially am fond of Peter's. I think, let's switch back to where he sings.
I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had.
I think he wins. I think that's beautiful tone to sing with for this song. Marwan, how he lands on the E and then trips down to the D. I don't know if I found that completely necessary. I don't know if that was in the arrangement or that was his own decision. I feel like his voice is a little bit sharper, or not in terms of like pitch, but in terms of timbre. To be doing that, I would have given that to Peter or Bobby if you're going to do that little trick. But it's still good tone from Marwan, good tone from Bobby too at this part. And of course, when Bobby sings, we have Elliot in the background, like a dragon coming up from the dungeon on a G1, and then resolving down to the D1. The D1. Very impressive stuff. And I do like how the video adds to that effect.
I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to tell. When people run in circles, it's a very, very bad world.
And they all resolve down to the D, that bad world. The top background vocals haven't really resolved yet, but I think that's fitting because we're about to get into this big like bass drop huge section. So let's continue on.
Bad world.
Also, interesting harmonic choice there. I believe they switched to a G. I think that's right. Which really breaks the model of D minor. But I think it's a really pretty choice. A really pretty dissonance that we want to resolve as soon as possible. But we hang on it a little bit, and as we see, we get these upper harmonies adding to the cluster, creating a cluster chord. It's just so good, such a good dissonance, and it leads to such a good resolution.
Children waiting for the day we feel good. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. And I feel the way that every child should.
So real quick, it's kind of difficult to hear Elliot's bass line here in the mix. I'm not sure why. It just doesn't read very well. But when he hits the feel good, Bobby does feel good, that A to F. Elliot's goes down to that F1 in chest voice and resolves up to that A, kind of inverting what Bobby's singing, but down an octave. What the heck? How do you sing that low in chest voice? So that, especially like with the strength he puts on the feel syllable. It just sounds so freaking awesome to have that in the background. Also, beautiful tone from Bobby there.
Children waiting for the day we feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday. I feel the way that every child should sit and listen, sit and listen.
So all throughout this part, something that I found really interesting that's probably mostly inspired by voice play because they're the only ones I've seen do this a lot, is that you have the melody singing the lyrics and you have the background singing background like counter melodies, harmonies, but they're singing the lyrics that the melody is singing in like a chopped up manner. So let me see if I can find an example because I'm not explaining this very well.
Children waiting for the day we feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday.
So Bobby has the traditional melody. He actually kind of slightly adds his own like flair to it, which I found really interesting. But even so, he sticks with the traditional melody, and in the background, let's listen to this.
Birthday, happy birthday.
So while his is syncopated, theirs is straight. They go, happy birthday, which that kind of deviation from the way the lyrics are sung in the melody adds a lot of interest to the piece. It makes it a lot more interesting to listen to. And like I said, I think that's something I've heard voice play do more than other a cappella groups, but I think it's a really incredible thing to be able to pull off like this and to be able to use properly. So hats off to Tomi once again. I also want to see what happened there with Peter's part because it deviated a little bit from the key. So let's figure this out together. Does he land on that F? It doesn't sound like that. Should. Okay, he does, but the upper harmonies that are built off of it deviate. It's like it's a chord that's not in the key as far as I can tell, which is why it adds kind of a almost gross feeling, but it adds more impact because it's something we haven't heard before from any cover of the song. So kind of deviating from the original chord structure adds to that idea of dissonance and resolution. So changing that chord like Tomi did made it so much nicer when we got to that last final chord there. I'm also not sure exactly who that is on the G. It might be Elliot. I wasn't able to tell. 1 second. Okay, we're back, sorry.
Went to school and I was very nervous.
I like what they do there too with, you start with Marlon, there's somebody else too in the background, down on like a lower harmony, but you add more voices with like every couple of words on each beat. So you went to school and I was, each pair of notes you have there, you add another voice, another harmony. So it's everything I keep commenting on adds to this idea of building towards a big ultimate finale to the song.
To school and I was very nervous.
And what's more, cutting out the percussion and coming back in when we hit the downbeat of that measure, the downbeat of this phrase, adds to the impact as well. That's something you hear a lot. It's kind of like a bass drop idea.
Went to school and I was very nervous. No one knew me.
I don't think that's can't tell. I know they use some spattering of non-vocal percussion, like actual like instruments or sound effects in the percussion track, but that slowing down kind of thing, that adds something really cool. I've never heard that before. That's really pretty. And I would commented on this earlier. The syllables we're using now are all straight Oz because we're at like such a big, expressive, open part of the song, triumphant. And I think that's another D1 from Elliot in the background right there.
Tell me what's my lesson? Look right through me. Look right through me.
I think this is the key change. Yeah, so Tomi led that key change by switching to that minor sixth and landing on the minor seventh, which becomes the root, so now we're in C minor instead of D minor, which is a step lower, leading for some pretty low notes. And we have Marwan up here holding that falsetto. It says C5, nice and pretty tone.
And I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very...
So, let me see if I'm hearing this right. So that's the melody in a minor key, which I think it's always been in a minor key. Do they switch it to a major key in Bobby's part? I think they do.
I find it hard to take when people run.
So Bobby and Elliot here are singing it in a major key, which is really interesting. I don't think anybody's ever done that with this arrangement before, which I know I've said before. Like, there's so much originality in Tomi's arrangement of this song. It's absolutely stunning.
I find it hard to take when people run in circles. It's a very, very...
And then there, Bobby lands on an E flat, confirming that we're back to the minor. So this is a little bit deceptive because they all land on the E flat C while the upper voices are droning on that C. I think I'm playing a C like 6 there or something, but they're droning on a C5, and it creates this kind of illusion that we're going to resolve. But after we hit, that's a low C. That's kind of low today. The upper voices deviate from that high C, telling you that nope, we're actually not resolving quite yet. So that's kind of creative, what they do with the upper background vocals there.
Circles, it's a very, very bad world. Bad world.
Seatbelts. That C1, like everybody on their lowest notes that they have in that mix, the way all the lowest octave parts hang over is just so incredible. It adds so much. Like, it's like rubbing it in. I'm at a loss for words. I've heard this probably a few dozen times, and it still baffles me how incredible this arrangement is. I said it gave me chills, and my one friend I showed it to said it made her shudder. Like, you can't do any better than this. Tomi, that's a C1 inhale, which is one of the only like pitches I can accurately tell who's doing what, because that kind of low inhale register is Tomi's thing. I don't think many people have done that as like using that as their method to hit really low notes before. So I think that's really cool. I know Lane Stein from Voice Play has done that. But yeah, I feel like Tomi has kind of pioneered the concept of inhale singing as a method for singing bass. Really good stuff. I can't put to words how incredible this arrangement is. I can't decide if it's my favorite from their new album. But we're going to go through and unpack the other three very soon. I promise I won't be gone for months on end again. Because this album has really inspired me. I want to get back into doing these analyses. Phenomenal work from Tomi, phenomenal work from the Bass Gang. Go subscribe to them. Go watch the original video, please. And that's all from me. I will see you guys again soon. Thank you for watching.